do you still remember me? It was a cold winter evening when Tom, the manager of the citywide transport company, was just about to leave for the day. Suddenly, a loud knock came at his office door. A young man, limping and wrapped in the chill of the evening air, walked in with an expression of frustration. He made his way directly to Tom's desk. Tom's gut instinct kicked in. Something about this young man seemed like trouble. Yet, as the young man stood there, awkwardly balancing on one leg, his anger appeared to melt away, replaced by an uneasy nervousness. "Mr. Tom, do you remember me? I need to ask you for something," he said hesitantly, as if struggling to find the words. Tom looked him over carefully. The young man's face was vaguely familiar, but Tom couldn't quite place it. Offering him a glass of water, Tom smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, my memory isn't what it used to be." "Who are you again? What can I help you with?" The young man's face fell. "You really don't remember me? Just like that, I'm forgotten? Do you remember 3 years ago, in the middle of summer? One of your company buses, license plate 45,066, had an accident on the highway. There was a passenger named Sam Harper who, despite being injured himself, saved the lives of over 10 people. Doesn't that ring a bell? I'm Sam Harper, and I've come a long way, hundreds of miles, for this." The young man's voice trembled with frustration, his eyes red with suppressed emotion. At that, Tom suddenly remembered. The out-of-town accent, the vaguely familiar face, yes, this was the very man who had saved lives at the scene of that bus accident. That day, one of their buses had skidded off the road and into a ditch. The driver, the conductor, and many passengers were severely injured, trapped inside the wreck. It was Sam Harper who had shattered the bus windows and pulled out the injured passengers one by one, preventing what could have been a much worse tragedy. Tom clearly recalled the event now, but there was one thing he didn't understand. Back then, Sam didn't have a limp, and he had refused medical treatment, insisting he was fine. How did he end up with this injury now? Was Sam here looking for compensation? "I need an explanation," Sam continued, his eyes bloodshot, filled with expectation. Tom was silent, his thoughts swirling. Was this young man about to demand compensation for an injury he sustained during the accident? Tom had been through enough lawsuits. He certainly didn't want to admit anything that might lead to legal trouble. After a moment's hesitation, Tom feigned ignorance. "Oh yes, I remember the accident. I rushed to the scene myself afterward. But honestly, I don't recall anything about you being injured while saving others." Sam's face grew desperate. "How can you not remember? My right leg was cut open by broken glass, and my pants were soaked in blood. You told me to go to the hospital, but I was in a hurry to get home. You even paid for my ticket. It was only after I got home that I realized my leg was seriously injured, but it was too late for proper treatment. Do you remember now, Mr. Tom? You promised me something before I left that day." Tom did remember that Sam's selfless actions had moved him deeply. In fact, he had even said that if Sam's leg gave him trouble, he should contact him. But that was 3 years ago. Was Sam really here now to claim that his injury was the company's responsibility? Tom wasn't willing to take the blame for something he wasn't sure about. He shook his head firmly. "No, I don't recall making any promises like that. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm about to leave for the day." Sam's face turned red with frustration, and he pleaded, "Mr. Tom, how can you just forget something like this? My life took a turn for the worse after that accident. You gave me your word, and I'm only asking for you to honor it. Please, just give me an honest answer." Tom's heart sank. Sam's determination made it clear he wasn't going to let this go. Tom straightened up and said with confidence, "Well, if you can find any witnesses or evidence to support your claim, I promise the company will take responsibility." Tom felt certain that Sam wouldn't be able to produce anything. After all, it had been 3 years, and those passengers had scattered to the winds. Finding evidence now would be impossible. Sam knew the difficulty of finding witnesses after so long. He muttered to himself, "What should I do? My father is seriously ill, and I need this resolved quickly." Suddenly, his eyes caught sight of a newspaper on the coffee table, and he fell silent, lost in thought. Tom had a sudden realization. So, Sam wanted money to help his father. He followed Sam's gaze and saw that it had landed on a headline: "Construction worker threatens to jump from building over unpaid wages." Suddenly, Sam's face lit up with an idea. "I've got it," he exclaimed, and without another word, he rushed out of the office. Tom shook his head, dismissing the idea. Must be crazy. As Tom was leaving the building, he saw a crowd gathering outside, their faces turned upward in concern. When he looked up, he froze. There, at the edge of the rooftop, was Sam, threatening to jump. Police officers had arrived and were trying to calm Sam down, but he insisted that he would jump if anyone came too close. He only had one demand: for a reporter to come and hear his story. A local reporter soon arrived, and from a distance, Sam recounted the events of the bus accident and his actions that day. His only request was for the reporter to publish his story and help him find witnesses who could confirm his version of events. The reporter agreed, sensing a compelling story, and promised that it would be in the next day's paper. But when he tried to approach Sam, Sam warned him off, shouting, "Don't come any closer. I'm not coming down. I'll stay up here all night. If this story isn't in the paper by morning, I'll jump. Go write your article." Fearing for Sam's life, the reporter assured him that his story would be published. Everyone retreated, leaving Sam alone on the rooftop, bundled in blankets to keep warm. The next morning, the newspaper ran Sam's story. But even then, he refused to come down from the rooftop, insisting he would stay there until a witness came forward. By noon, an elderly woman arrived, tearfully confirming Sam's story. Yes, it was him. "He saved us all," she said, pulling a handkerchief from her pocket, explaining that Sam had used it to bandage her injured hand during the accident. Embroidered on the handkerchief were the words, "Sam Harper," in delicate script. When Sam saw the handkerchief, he took it and stared at it, his emotions overwhelming him. This was the same handkerchief that his ex-girlfriend had given him before they parted ways. Witness after witness came forward that afternoon, all confirming Sam's account of the accident. At that point, Tom knew he couldn't deny the truth any longer. Feeling both guilty and eager to avoid further scandal, he approached the reporter and admitted he might have misremembered. "Look," Tom said, "regardless of whether his injury was caused by the accident or not, Sam deserves some recognition for his bravery. I'm willing to compensate him." Tom offered Sam a sum of money to settle the matter, but Sam shook his head. "I don't want your money," he said firmly. Tom was stunned. "What do you want then?" he asked, utterly confused. Sam hesitated before replying, "I just want you to keep your promise. You said you'd send a thank you letter to my village, publicly acknowledging what I did. That's all I want, a thank you letter, delivered to my home with the proper ceremony." Tom's mouth dropped open. He vaguely remembered saying something about that, but it had been an offhand comment he quickly forgot. Who cares about a thank you letter in this day and age? The reporter, pen in hand, was equally astonished. Why would you turn down a large sum of money for a simple thank you letter? Sam looked down, his voice cracking, "Money can't buy a good name. My father will die in peace if he sees that letter." Through sobs, Sam explained his story to the reporter. Years ago, after serving time in prison for theft, he had worked hard to rebuild his life. The accident on the bus was his chance at redemption. He had told his entire village about the heroic deed and was expecting a letter of acknowledgement. But when no letter came, rumors began to spread in the village that his injury had been caused by more criminal behavior. The whispers grew louder, and even his fiancée left him, convinced by the gossip. Sam had written to Tom, asking for the letter, but his requests had gone unanswered. Now, with his father on his deathbed, Sam was desperate for his father to see the letter before it was too late. Hearing this, Tom and the reporter leaped into action. "Let's go," they shouted. By the next day, a company van was racing to Sam's village. Tom held the thank you letter high as a camera crew filmed every moment. Upon arriving, Sam's elderly father took the letter in his hands, tears streaming down his face. Sam's village looked on in awe as he held his head high, finally free of the rumors that had tarnished his name. As they left, Sam turned to Tom and said softly, "You've kept your word. Thank you." For the first time, Tom felt the weight of his broken promises and what it meant to restore someone's honor. It wasn't about money. It was about truth, justice, and giving someone the dignity they deserved.